Chinese phones have a reputation for being cheaper copies of another device, but that's not always fair. In the case of the Doogee Mix, however, it's entirely fair. The Doogee Mix is a clone of the Xiaomi Mi Mix. They didn't even bother to change the name, but they did change the price. Hi, I'm James Bruce, you're watching MakeUseOf.com reviews, and today's review is brought to you by the word bezel-less. Available in blue or black, the Doogee Mix costs around $200 for the 6GB RAM model and $185 for the 4GB RAM model. It features a 720p 5.5-inch almost bezel-less display, 64GB of storage, a Helio P25 octa-core CPU, 16 megapixel plus 8 megapixel dual rear camera, 5 megapixel front camera and a 3380 mAh battery. It has room for a micro and nano SIM in the side loading tray, though as is typical for these style device, one of those slots has a shared purpose as a micro SD card expandable storage. So you'll need to choose between more storage or a second SIM. In the box you'll also find the usual assortment of charger, cable, screen cover and screen wipe, as well as an unusually packaged stick-on ring stand thing, which my wife assures me are all the rage in China. A cute 8GB USB drive as well, and a plain black case. As far as little extras go, Doogee is really quite generous here. In terms of design, this is not a budget-feeling device in the slightest. It's quite weighty and feels good. A metal rim runs around the edge, and while the back isn't removable, it isn't metal either. It feels like a sort of plastic resin that's very highly reflective. The only thing that feels a little out of place on this device is the micro USB charging port, which has pretty much been replaced by USB-C on nearly every new device nowadays. Though described as bezel-less, it's not quite. There is still about 1mm of black screen bezel all the way around the edge, plus a further 1.1mm of the blue casing before you get to the curved side of the phone. Here's a comparison to an iPhone 6, so you can see in real terms what bezel-less means in this instance. Unfortunately, the marketing materials for the Doogee Mix are quite misleading, and by cunning use of a black background image are clearly designed to show that there's less of a bezel than there really is. Still, it is a huge screen and it does look rather lovely. One thing that really impressed me on the Doogee Mix is the dual rear camera system. Unlike the A9 Pro I looked at last week, which had an 8 plus 0.3 megapixel system, and I couldn't really see what the point of that dual sensor was, I could clearly see the difference in quality when testing the Doogee Mix with that second sensor covered or uncovered. It clearly adds some detail to the photos. The camera also includes the now ubiquitous bokeh or bokeh mode. You can see some example of the bokeh mode now. Again, the second sensor did seem to help out there. Video quality was also great. Where it was let down, as you'd expect, was in low light performance, but this is true of most smartphones, so no surprises there. Oddly, the front-facing camera is actually at the bottom of the device, so taking a selfie you need to turn the device completely around. This kind of weirded me out the first time I tried it, and I couldn't figure out why the camera was pointing in entirely the wrong place, but when you turn it around, it's fine. The device ships with a colourful but frankly annoying custom skin that encourages you to swap it for a number of other styles with this weird little cat animation. It took me a while to figure out how to turn that off, as well as the smart search bar, but you can do so. Also, like the A9 Pro, it includes a radial menu accessed from the bottom corner, but standard buttons are enabled by default for recents and back, so it wasn't nearly as frustrating as it could have been. To the left of the home screens you'll find a persistent news app thing called Info Hub, which can't be disabled and is an integral part of this launcher. One thing that did annoy me was that the float view with screenshot shortcut could seemingly only be opened when the navigation bar was minimized. To be honest, you probably just want to replace this whole thing with Nova Launcher or Google Now as soon as you unbox it. I should note, Nova felt a lot faster, so this is definitely introducing a bit of lag to the system. With 6GB of RAM, an octa-core CPU and only a 720p screen, the device is clearly going to perform well for most everyday tasks you throw at it, and at no point did it feel overly sluggish. Digging into some raw numbers, AnTuTu gave it a very reasonable 60,000, while Geekbench scored single-core CPU at 800, multi-core at 3900-ish, and GPU compute at 2800. Battery life was rather great. We ran some streaming live TV over Wi-Fi at full brightness, full volume, and it lasted a rather impressive 8 hours. The volume was pretty loud, but it only had speakers at the bottom, so you won't get any stereo effects. So should you buy the Doogee Mix? Considering that you're getting a good amount of raw power under the hood, A really nice dual camera system and a lovely big display. Even if it's only 720p, I'd say the device is priced very nicely at $200 or less. It hits a nice sweet spot, I think, but do go ahead and replace that Doogee launcher as soon as possible for the best experience. Before we go, I'd like to thank Doogee for providing us with a device to test out, as well as one to give away, which you'll find on the Make Use Of giveaways page at makeuseof.com/giveaways. If you like this review, hit like and subscribe, then you'll never miss any of our reviews, giveaways, technology tips and DIY tutorials from all of us at makeuseof.com. Until next time.